For now here on RT, the hunger strike among prisoners at Guantanamo Bay now into day 48. Their plight is still struggling to garner wider attention. Lawyers say over 100 inmates are refusing food and are concerned about their deteriorating state of health. Prison officials continue to downplay the protest, and there's little coverage in the U.S. media, as RT's Marina Portnaya now investigates.
In the world of 24-hour news, no country knows the power of media better than the U.S.
Hard to believe it's been 10 years since the shock and awe campaign that launched the Iraq War.
I believe we could have removed Saddam Hussein in another way that would not have been so damaging to America. I mean, the man had to go.
10 years later, the killing continues in Iraq without end.
Also continuing without end, the mass hunger strike at the Guantanamo Bay Detention Center. But that topic remains off the radar of mainstream news and hidden from the American public.
No, I did not know that.
No, I had no idea.
No. Really?
According to the Center for Constitutional Rights, 130 Guantanamo prisoners began the life-threatening hunger strike nearly 7 weeks ago to protest treatment and conditions at the island prison. A prison America's president promised would be closed at the start of 2010.
Do you think that that's a topic that should be reported by U.S. media?
Yeah, I think so.
Why?
Because they are being kept in prison by the U.S., so it's only fair that they get their views expressed.
That's what the whole country's built on, is the freedom of information to do that. I mean, I just think it's the right thing to do.
Times Square is otherwise known as the Mecca of media messages. Millions walk through here on a daily basis, flooded with information through news tickers, plasma screens, and advertisements. But as we've learned, even the most important stories can be ignored.
That nobody else is talking about this subject. If this were happening in Russia, if people had disappeared into a legal black hole in Russia and were facing indefinite incarceration without trial, without charge, and without access of attorneys, we'd never hear the end of it. The Western media would be full of it. Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, they'd be screaming from the rooftops of Westminster behind me. But because this is an American crime, because it's an American crime, they're allowed to get away with it, because the people who control the so-called mainstream media are fully on side with the agenda of the Obama administration.
A top U.S. general is now calling for hundreds of millions of dollars to upgrade the U.S. detention facility.
When CNN finally turned its focus to Gitmo, the so-called worldwide leader in news ignored the hunger strike.
Is there anything wrong with trying to improve it, fix it, spend a few $100 million to get it ready for maybe a new generation of terrorists?
Instead, focusing on the money being requested to update the facility where 166 detainees are still languishing.
Do you know that more than half of the detainees at Guantanamo have been cleared for release?
Are you serious? No, I didn't.
I had no idea of that. Wow.
I did not know that.
As more than 100 prisoners reportedly continue their hunger strike, the U.S. military continues to dispute the figures. However, when RT first broke the story on March 12th, U.S. officials were denying that a strike was even taking place.
As you recall, they started off by saying no one's on a hunger strike, just the 5 or 6 people who have been on a hunger strike for many years. Then that figure was revised up to 14, and now we're seeing the figure steadily increasing, but to nowhere near the extent that the prisoners' lawyers are talking about. And I think, hearing about how the lawyers are not being allowed to visit, plus this big gulf between what the lawyers are saying and what the administration is saying, is indicative of the administration still trying to clamp down on it. They don't want this story out. And I think that means that there is a very big story going on.
But in the business of broadcast news, U.S. networks have to prioritize which big stories deserve the most attention.
That's right. The Canadians are using farting to combat smoking.
Nancy Grace, first of all, I want to express my condolences. What happened to your necklace?
If former President Bill Clinton gets his way, actress Ashley Judd will never be a United States Senator.
Marina Portnaya, RT, New York.